Listen, I don't know what it is that you might be going through, but right now in your current situation, what God wants you to understand, He's forming an end to that pain, an end to that cycle of feeling as if you're in a drought. God wants you to know that weapons will form indeed, but God says they will not and they shall not prosper, because you are a person that you're seeking God's face, that you're seeking God to deliver you out of the situation that has caused you some trouble, that's caused you some harm. What God wants you to know, He wants you to get comfortable being in His presence, which means He wants you to talk to Him. You have to be willing to tell Him everything. Invite Him in every flaw. Invite Him in every trauma. Invite Him in every addiction. Invite Him in every single thing that involves in your life, because as you get yourself comfortable for God, He's going to free you from that form of captivity when it comes to anything that you're suffering from, because God wants you to know He has to form an end so that He could start in the beginning. God has to remove them people that are not serving you out of your life. He has to remove them old mindsets and that bad way of thinking, because anything that's going to work against what God has for you, He has to move it. You have to understand that things take time. You have to be willing to put in the necessary work to get to the things that God has for you, which means you have to be willing to give away things. And when I say give away things, people, places, mindsets, habits that are no longer serving you, you have to be willing to allow God to remove that from you. Because as you get yourself in God's presence, as you continue to draw near to God, God is going to force you to clean up. He is going to allow His presence to overpower everything that you have going on in your life, which is going to allow your spirit to be convicted, which is going to force you to do some things differently. And know this, obedience is much more powerful than sacrifice. If you as a person are getting your presence before God and putting God first in everything, you're asking yourself, why aren't things materializing the way that it needs to be? Because you have to be willing to do everything that God says, because God speaks to us through signs and wonders. When God needs to get your attention, He will allow your life to become chaotic. The time in which you're feeling like you're going through the most, the time in which you feel like you're the most stressed out, the time when you feel as if you're going through so much pain, God is using it so that you could call out Him, so that He could force you to do something different. God wants to structure you through prayer. God wants to structure you by letting things go. He wants to give you that healing. He wants to give you that closure, but you have to be open in your mind to accept these things, because these things are mindsets that's going to take place in a certain amount of time. Because as you're ready, as you're more welcoming to these things, God will allow them to abide within you, which will allow you to be free in due time. Stay blessed. God loves you, so do I. Peace.